I'm already looking to see what else I can get into. What I can get about that. Only full. First and only.
Probably sits here two corners. Trying to figure out where else.
Out of the water.
I'm sitting with
I know. Is that
That's great.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. The Attorney General and our investigative team will be out in just a moment. Following the Attorney General's statement, there will be a time for Q&A. We ask that you keep questions topical. We will be started here in just about a minute and a half. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know we're starting.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Guys set? Get a little coochie. Let's get a little closer, guys. It's still morning. We're pretty fresh. You all set? Everybody ready? Okay, great. Well, good morning. Good morning. My name is Bill Schuette, and with me today are Todd Flood, Andy Arena, and David Layton, part of our Flint team dedicated to providing justice for the families of Flint. You'll hear from each of them in just a moment. Many things went tragically wrong in Flint. Some people failed to act. Others minimized harm done and arrogantly chose to ignore data. Some intentionally altered figures and covered up. significant health risks. Two companies committed fraud and were negligent and made a bad situation worse. The result was water was poisoned, and children have been exposed to extremely high levels of lead, which may impede their growth and development for the rest of their lives. Now, some may wish, and some may worry, that the story of Flint will be slowly absorbed by world events, the 24-hour news cycle, and the short attention span of, tweets and posts. Nope, not on our watch. That will not happen. The families of Flint will not be forgotten. We will provide the justice they deserve. And in Michigan, the system's not rigged. In Michigan, the system is not rigged. There's one system of justice, and it applies to everybody equally, no matter who you are, period. Providing justice to families of Flint means accountability. Those who committed crimes will be held accountable. And today we're announcing charges against 6 individuals from 2 state departments, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Their offenses vary, but there's an overall theme and repeated pattern. Each of these individuals attempted to bury or cover up, to downplay or to hide information that contradicted their own narrative, their story. And their narrative and their story was there's nothing wrong with Flint water and that it was perfectly safe to use. In essence, these individuals concealed the truth. They were criminally wrong to do so. And the victims, well, these are real people. Families who've been lied to by government officials and have been treated as expendable, as if they don't count. Well, they do count. And when our investigation is completed and our prosecutions are successful, then accountability and justice will be delivered to families of Flint and to families in Michigan. Now, first, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. In July of 2015, the director of the Program for Maternal, Infant, and Early Childhood, Nancy Peeler, requested a report about the blood levels in Flint children. But instead of releasing the report that indicated a significant problem, she buried it and produced a bogus report that she and Robert Scott prepared. The legitimate report went to a state epidemiologist named Corinne Miller, who instructed others not to take action when it was required. And this put children of Flint in the crosshairs of drinking poison. They put the children of Flint on the back burner, ignored them, and ignored the truth about what was happening in the city of Flint. Corinne Miller has since left the Department of Health and Human Services. Nancy Peeler and Robert Scott are still employed at the department. Now, each of these 3 individuals, Peeler, Scott, and Miller, will be charged with misconduct in office, a 5-year felony, conspiracy, a 5-year felony, and willful neglect of duty, a 1-year misdemeanor. Now, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Leanne Schechter-Smith supervised both Adam Rosenthal and Patrick Cook at the DEQ. Ms. Schechter-Smith served as chief of the Drinking Water and Municipal Assistance Office. She is no longer with the DEQ. Rosenthal and Cook continued to work in the drinking water section of the DEQ. Now, their job was to ensure that the families of Flint had safe water to drink. They failed. They misled health officials, insisting that Flint's 100-year-old water treatment plant, filtering caustic water from the Flint River, was functioning in compliance with lead and copper rules. when the truth was far from that. Ms. Schechter-Smith ignored reports that the plant was out of compliance, lied that the water plant was certified, and deliberately misled her superiors. She'll be charged with misconduct in office, a felony, and willful neglect of duty, a misdemeanor. It was Mr. Cook's job to ensure that proper water testing was occurring and that levels were in compliance with health guidelines. He said they were, but they were not. Mr. Cook will be charged with 2 felonies, misconduct in office and conspiracy, and a misdemeanor count of willful neglect of duty. Mr. Rosenthal tampered with the results of water testing, instructing that he needed more tests to go in the right direction. In other words, tests that did not show high levels of lead. Mr. Rosenthal will be charged with 3 felonies: misconduct in office, tampering with evidence, conspiracy, and 1 misdemeanor count of willful neglect of duty. Now, we've now charged 9 people with crimes, and we filed a civil suit against 2 companies that had the knowledge and the ability to stop the problem, but they failed. And as of right now, we've interviewed over 200 people. And we're not done. We're a long way from done. We're way far from done. We continue to work every day to find the truth for Flint. And we'll not rest, this team and I, until we have delivered justice for Flint. Let me turn it over to Todd Flood, who's our special counsel, who's doing a terrific job leading this investigation. Todd?
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. I've been involved in thousands of cases. There isn't a case that has jarred my soul more than this, for the lack of caring, the lack of compassion, the lack of understanding that has affected these citizens here in Flint. Every time you turn the page, you say to yourself, you can't make this up. People here in the city of Flint, the citizens, will not go without justice on our watch. They will see that we will do our jobs. And these charges, again, we're just in the midst of this investigation. I won't talk about this investigation from the standpoint of evidence that isn't already revealed. But you can see clearly that these departments, the DHHS, you had children that could have been saved from being poisoned. But a report that needed to go to health officials, as you can see from the public documents that are already out there, a report that could have saved a child that just this last year only grew 1 inch at the age of 5 because she was lead poisoned. I don't get it. I don't understand the lack of compassion, the caring, but you can rest assured, Mr. Arena and I and our team, and when I say our team, there's a lot of people here that are on our team. And I use the press as our team as well, because you guys are doing a great job to hold people accountable. But when you look at our team, we have plenty, and we will not stop until every single person in this case that has committed a criminal act will be brought to justice. As it relates to the DEQ, you can see it. The public evidence shows, for which we put in our probable cause statement, shows that they manipulated these reports. Why? The comprehension of that act for not allowing us to notify the world that there's a problem of poison going in the water, that, ladies and gentlemen, I can't comprehend. Mr. Arena and I will lead this team and make sure that all of these people are held accountable.
We heard from Todd Flood, our special counsel. Let me turn it over to Andy Arena, our chief investigator, former head of the FBI in Detroit, and is doing an outstanding job. Andy?
Thanks, Bill. You bet. Good morning. I want to start off by following up on what Todd was saying, the team. When we talk about the team, it's a lot of people. The relationship we have with Dave Layton and his office and the phenomenal work they're doing, the interaction that Todd's having with the lead prosecutor from that office, the United States Attorney's Office, and the relationship we have with them and sharing. But really, the people here, a lot of our team is here today, the investigators, the prosecutors, they're standing along the wall, they're seated here. You know, Todd is a tough guy to work for and work with. He's a driver, and these people have really responded and really are really working hard. In January, we stood before the press, before the people of Flint, and announced this investigation. And we said we were going to get answers and justice for the people of Flint. In April, we announced the first charges of the first 3 individuals. And we told the people of Flint we're going to get answers and justice. Last month, we announced the civil charges, and we said the same thing. So today we're here announcing these 6 charges, and once again I want to reemphasize to the people of Flint we are going to get answers as to how this happened, why it happened, and we're going to get justice for the people of Flint. 2 points I wanted to make today. I wanted to talk about the scope of the investigation and the pace of the investigation. These are questions I get a lot from the press. In my 24 years experience with the FBI, I was involved in a lot of large-scale, complex investigations like this, and I've said I think this at the end will be the largest criminal investigation in the history of the state of Michigan, and I still believe that. But when we look at the scope, these cases, you don't start at the top. I used to work organized crime. You didn't go after the head of the organized crime family. You worked your way up through the channels, and that's exactly what we're doing. If you see, we're starting to work our way up in the DEQ, and we're expanding the investigation both civilly and into other departments in the state of Michigan. So I think the scope of the investigation is progressing exactly how I think it should be. The second part is the pace. You know, I've heard some comments about it's taking this long to do this, and I got to tell you, I'm astounded by that because my experience in the FBI, I've never seen a case go with this pace. This has gone very quickly, but I want to assure people that we're not outrunning our supply lines. We're moving very fast, but we are steady, we have our balance, and we will continue to do this. And that's really, I think, a testament to the attorneys and the investigators. They are doing a phenomenal job, working long hours, but they're doing this for the right reason. I will leave you with this, once again, for the people of Flint. We will get you answers, and we will get you justice.
Well, thank you, Andy. And Andy said it right. We have a great team, and part of that is my dear friend Dave Layton, the outstanding prosecutor here in Genesee County. Great friend, the finest prosecutor I know, and Dave's here to take any questions you might have as well. So with that, happy to take any questions from the press that you might have. Sir.
Have you found motive with any of these people who have been charged so far?
You know, I'm going to have Todd answer that for a bit. But it's part arrogance. It's part viewing people in Flint as expendable, that it didn't matter. Covering data up, you know, monkeying with figures, hiding things, covering things up. Why would people do that? I can't always ascertain the motives, but I'm going to make sure they're held accountable.
It's a great question. I believe I have, but I won't disclose it. It's clear, though, right? Can't you see the lack of compassion and just dusting off this place, city of Flint? The answers will come through of why they did what they did. But I'm not going to get into those discussions today.
There's a key date in all these, couple of these different charges of July 28th, events that transpired on that in both departments. Is there some linkage there? Have you figured that out?
Well, I'm not going to try to prove water's wet right here, but it looks pretty obvious as you see on the same day, July 28th, and I'm glad you pointed that out, but on July 28th, you have Kristen Larder's report being buried, right? And at the same time, the DEQ, July 28th, is changing and manipulating those reports. We all saw that in the public, right, of manipulating the lead and copper monitoring reports. So you have two agencies manipulating reports on the same day. So in that lockstep going to stage left, that seems significant to me, but I'm going to let that play out in our investigation and in the courtroom.
You guys are obviously finding the culprits of all of this. In your investigation, are you finding people that were trying to stand up, that were trying to get the message out there, that were silenced? Can you talk about that a little?
Sure. So you can see that. That was in the FOIA request by Mark Edwards, and what happened, that triggering event. There are a lot of great people in public service. There are amazing public servants that worked very hard, that have had visceral reactions of being insanely upset about what has happened. So to answer your question, I hope that did, yes. And I would be remiss if I didn't point something out that my brother Andy had. David Layton's office. David is one of the best prosecutors and great friends I've come to love in this short period of time we've been together. But he has an assistant prosecutor who was just in a homicide case for 2 weeks, and Karen Hansen, who took my call every night, even while she was in there. And I have to reach out to her just to say thank you. She's not here today, but she's someone that's working hard on our team.
In the green. Him.
You mentioned before that you had some issues getting some information, some difficulty getting information from the governor's office. Is this better now?
I will say this. We've had great constructive dialogue. We've met on multiple occasions. I think probably 4 or 5 times now. We've had consistent conversations, and I'm hopeful that with the governor's team, we will come to a meeting of the minds, and I hope to do that within the next few days. But we're working in that direction, so I'm pleased with what's going on there.
Hang on, just first, Pluta, and then Mr. Crisser.
Sure.
You were concerned about the effects of the administration's internal investigations.
Yes.
What we were doing.
Right.
Did you run into any impediments as a result of those?
We've done everything we were supposed to do ethically and legally by building walls to keep ourselves from intruding or having that basically lead into our investigation. The issues that can come up with that would potentially compromise my prosecution because there would be compelled statements by that internal investigation. So that's a long-winded way of saying Andy and I have done a solid job of making sure that that has not tainted our investigation.
Please, Joel.
I just talked to a Flint grandfather, his name's Dennis Sykes, and I told him about the 6 that you mentioned today. He said, why isn't the governor being arrested? How do you answer that?
Well, you know, there are no targets in this investigation. We're just going right where the truth takes us, where the 2.5 million emails take us. And, you know, we're obviously, you're all smart individuals. We got where the focus is on 2 departments right now. We've expanded it, as Andy said, to a different department. We're going up the chain. We're just going where the truth takes us, period. Please. Terry.
Going to what Andy said as far as moving up, does that mean pretty much city officials, Flint city officials are in the clear at this point?
Andy?
That we're moving up to higher people in the state department?
I don't think anybody's off the table. And a lot of it is we're working with Dave Layton's office and kind of attacking these different areas, these different departments logically. So I think, as Attorney General said, nobody's off the table, nobody's off limits, and the truth, the facts will take us to the truth.
Yes, please.
Working your way up, how much did the 3 cases that were charged back in the spring, how much did those defendants help you in building this case?
Todd, you want to take
Sure. So I can't get into the specifics, but obviously you saw that we already have a plea from Mr. Glasgow, and he cooperated, and that was placed on the record as part of his condition of pleading. So obviously that's significant, and it's not uncommon for prosecutors, as Andy will tell you and Mr. Layton will tell you, is to work in those directions, but I can't get into the specifics. I can't. Yeah, he isn't as of right now, but that doesn't, I wouldn't lay any stock into the fact that he's not there right now. Yes?
Please.
Yes, was the governor notified this morning that in advance of these press conference today, and if so, could you share a reaction?
No, but yes, he was notified, and we always communicate about things like that. Who hasn't had a question? I'll make sure everyone gets a whack. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Yeah.
Let me ask a twofold. First of all, have all of these...
This is every time you ask two, but that's okay. That's okay.
That's a style of Jim.
Have all of these people been told ahead of today that they're going to be charged and maybe walk-in arraignments?
Okay. Todd?
Sure. All of the attorneys that represent the individuals have been contacted, and we will make the appropriate arrangements through our investigative staff in Mr. Layton's office to do appropriate turn-ins that will be convenient for the court and our staff.
You're not going out rounding off Saturday?
No, that's not going to happen. No need to do that. You had a second part question? Oh, good.
Along those same lines with these employees, it's been discussed here by your team that a lot of these individuals on the city level and the state level have lawyered up and clammed up, and they haven't been cooperating. And I'm told that in at least one case, a judge had to intervene on an investigative subpoena and compel something to compel them to cooperate. Where do you stand on that? In particular, Mr. Layton, with the city of Flint providing attorneys for city employees?
Yeah, I will have Mr. Layton answer that second part. The first part is, Jim, I'm not going to, your intel, and I have to applaud you because your skills of being an investigative reporter are very high, but I can't get into those things, and you know that. So I'm not going to get into whatever investigative subpoena that you're alluding to or whatever judge may have done something. But Mr. Layton can talk about the others.
Here I thought I was going to get away with not having to say anything at this press conference, Jim. We're having ongoing discussions with the city of Flint with respect to that issue. I see some improvement there, and I'm optimistic that it will continue and we will resolve the issue totally in a short period of time.
Just to follow up, how many instances have you had with employees and city provided attorneys? We talking 2, 5, 10, 50?
I really can't quantify it, but it's less than 10.
Any other questions? Please, yeah. Then back. Go ahead.
We've talked a lot about lead. Has the Legionella part of the program started for you guys or not? I mean, that seems to be, people die. You know, that's
12.
part of this.
12 people died. Todd, Andy?
That is very much so with Mr. Layton's office and our office. You can rest assured that that is on our radar every day, every single day. That is a investigation that is ongoing, and we have the best experts in the world working with us. And Karen Hansen is working with me, along with the U.S. Attorney's Office is helping us retrieve documents as well. So you can rest assured we have a gentleman, Morris Brown, on our team who is an investigator, retired from MSP, who has been through, I think, over 84 interviews himself with families and has come into contact with several people that have been infected with Legionella and the Legionnaire's disease. And so we will continue that on a daily basis.
Do you want to say something?
Yeah, Todd mentioned Mo Brown and talking to these victims, and you know, you don't go in and just Joe Friday give me the facts and walk out. I mean, Mo and whoever he takes with him, I mean, they're spending hours in the residence because you've got to hear when they were married and how they met and their honeymoon and their life and their aspirations and what they did, because you know these people lost their loved ones. And so as Todd said, we've got a part of our team that's all they're looking at are the victims. And a good portion of that is the Legionnaires issue.
Yeah, another question? Chad, you had another question?
Yeah. To follow up, Todd, earlier you mentioned you're coming to some kind of agreement soon maybe with the governor's office. Have you you interviewed the governor or Dennis Muchmore at this point?
I won't get into who I've interviewed. That, again, unless it's in the public domain, it would be unethical for me to talk about those specific interviews.
Maybe we should subpoena him to
Again, it's another way of trying to get me to disclose what I'm doing in my investigation. And
We just don't do that.
I apologize.
There are no targets. We're just going right to the truth, period. Jim?
How's your funding for this? Are you about to run out? Do you need to go back to the legislature to get more?
The legislature understands the significance of this whole issue. I talk with leaders in the House and the Senate all the time, Republican, Democrat, both sides of the aisle. They understand. They want to find the truth too, and they want to be part of the solution. They've been terrific, and we're funded, at least for the time being. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.